Next up, Eric Shiner. Come on up there.
Oh, are you calling me crazy? Good evening, everyone. I'm Big Eric. I'm a studio chef, and I happen to be the director of the Andy Warhol Museum. And I wanted to talk tonight about how we send Andy and his story all over the world. The map that you see, every country in blue, has hosted an Andy Warhol exhibition in the past. It's our major way of sending the message out, and I wanted to talk about where we've been. We've been to Montreal, Canada, where we did Warhol Live and looked at Andy's interest in dance and music and celebrity. We even put our dance diagram painting, as you see there, horizontally as Andy meant it to be. The problem here in Pittsburgh, people tend to jump on it and actually try to dance. We then, in 2010, went to Seoul, South Korea. It is incredible, the interest about Andy in Seoul. We have more requests from South Korea than any place else in the world. Upwards of 4 exhibitions a year. Seemingly, Korea cannot get enough of Andy Warhol. We then made our way to South America, to Bogota, Colombia. And it was incredible. The opening night had over 2,000 people at a street party. And of course, everywhere we go is a blockbuster. It sort of goes with the territory. When we went on to Buenos Aires, Argentina, we broke the record for this museum with over 500,000 people coming to see the exhibition, which is just amazing. The show was called Mr. America, of course, saying that Warhol is about as American as apple pie. And it's so great to see how people just clamor to see Andy Warhol. I wish they did that here in Pittsburgh. We blow our numbers. We have 120,000 people here in Pittsburgh a year, but annually we're about 750,000 people around the world, including Sao Paulo, Brazil, which was the last stop of the Mr. America tour back in 2009. It's quite interesting to know that we just broke the 10 million people mark in people coming into our exhibitions around the world. Thank you. Then we went on to Sweden, where we really love to put banners out on the fronts of old buildings. It really is rather eye-catching, and you wouldn't believe the crazy things I see. You'll be driving down the street in Beijing, and then all of a sudden there's a huge Marilyn Monroe on the side of a bus as it whizzes by. But we also like to put things in churches and really interesting places. This is probably one of the most beautiful installations I've ever seen at Van Nieuwkerk, a church in the center of Old Amsterdam, where we installed Warhol's Last Supper painting right on the altar of the original church. It was completely awe-inspiring to walk in and be confronted with this gorgeous pink painting. We then did the same thing in a church in Finland. The religious side of Warhol is something that people don't necessarily always understand. But it completely influenced everything that Andy did. He had a huge fixation with Christ, and it was integral to his work. Now, we went on to Canada. The beaver, I thought, might be a little funny little joke. We didn't have any actual beavers in the show, nor does Andy have any beaver paintings that I know of. But Canada is also an incredibly robust place in terms of Warhol interest. We get requests from there constantly, as we do in Chile and Santiago. And this is a really fun show that we actually do in collaboration with the Children's Museum here in Pittsburgh. They own the entire portfolio of Warhol's Myths, the series with The Wicked Witch and Mickey Mouse and Santa Claus. And we send that show around the world, mostly to children's museums, showing how Andy was really interested in kids. Now, Spain is another huge hotspot for Warhol. Seemingly, the Spanish cannot get enough. And it's always really funny when we send shows to see how people handle our artwork. And this is one of those things that just drives me crazy to see a painting tilted, because they're really not supposed to be that way. But as we moved on to Spain, we found that people really, really bonded with Warhol's color palette, that that's what the Spanish totally saw and responded to at a really, really intimate level. And Warhol is, of course, a master colorist, and that's why he's very well known in Spain. Now, in Germany, of course, Germans tend to be a little bit more serious. So we went with a show called Warhol Headlines, looking at Warhol's deep interest in the newspaper, how Andy would cull imagery from the front page of headline news. And this show, again, broke a record for this museum, which has its own amazing collection of Warhol. Now, when I came onto the museum, I specialize in Asian contemporary art. and I really wanted to send a show to Asia. So with BNY Mellon's support, we did a 5-city tour that we're right in the middle of and started in Singapore in this amazing Moshi Softy building that looks like a lotus flower. The problem is there are no straight walls in a lotus flower, so we had to build every single wall to hang the artwork on. Rome, we did a really fantastic rendition of Warhol headlines there in this amazing palace. I'm always thrilled to go and see all of these amazing buildings that we install our artwork in, blending history and contemporary art together. Now, when we took the show to Hong Kong, which just happened earlier this year, we, as you see, plastered Marilyn Monroe and Pink everywhere, saying pop art is for everyone, right on the main bay in Hong Kong. And it has become nothing less than a sensation. Singapore, Hong Kong, we're in Shanghai right now, as you see here, in an old power station that has been converted into a brand new contemporary art museum that's about twice as big as Tate Modern in London. It's incredible. But Warhol is now a household name in China. I was interviewed by no less than 50 newspapers at the opening in Shanghai just a few weeks ago, which was sort of our whole point in going there. We also just opened a show in Wellington, New Zealand called Warhol Immortal, the fact that Warhol's never really going away. Oh, where'd those sheep come from? I guess they're everywhere in New Zealand. And lastly, literally just 2 weeks ago, we opened a show in Azerbaijan, in Baku, in this gorgeous new Zaha Hadid building. And it was interesting, they built this building, spent several $100 million, and then forgot to have an exhibition for it. So they called us 6 months ago and said, can you send a show? And I said, sure, and we did. So at any rate, come visit us at the Warhol and see us around the world.